They say you can hear a war before you see it. A shift in the air, a silence where there shouldn't be silence. A hum underneath the city's breathing. For the Hells Angels, that hum began the week the task force quietly came online. There was no press release, no public declaration. Just a sudden tightening of the world around them, like invisible hands closing a jar. And the Angels were inside it. At first, it felt like more of the same. More patrol cars near clubhouses. More unmarked sedans gliding behind riders on freeways. More officers parked just close enough to be noticed. But this time, something was different. It wasn't random. It wasn't sloppy. It was coordinated, precise, like someone had drawn lines on a map and told every agency exactly where to stand. One member later said, "It felt like the whole state suddenly turned its head in our direction." He wasn't wrong. But it wasn't just the state looking. It was the state hunting. The first real sign came on a Tuesday night in San Leandro. A group of Angels had gathered behind an auto shop, drinking beer, talking about engines, nothing loud, nothing wild. Then the lights cut out, not the building's lights, the entire block. A blackout that lasted exactly 14 seconds, long enough for eyes to adjust. Long enough to realize what had appeared during that brief darkness. 3 black SUVs now parked across the street, no headlights, no markings, just silhouettes. When the power snapped back on, the SUVs were still there, engines idling softly, like predators exhaling. No one stepped out, no one said a word. They simply stayed, watching, until, one by one, they rolled away. The Angels didn't chase, didn't shout, didn't even stand. They just felt something in their gut. The feeling every soldier knows the night before a real battle. They re-getting into position. But California didn't want the Angels to fight. Not yet. They wanted them to react. They wanted the first punch to come from the bikers. Because the moment it did, the task force could justify everything waiting behind those SUVs, everything California had been assembling quietly for weeks. Still, pressure alone wasn't enough. The task force needed a narrative, a spark, a reason to say, "We warned you." And California was more than willing to manufacture it. 2 days later, something happened that no one could explain. In the middle of the afternoon, a longtime Angel named Mason was riding through Alameda, just heading home. A family man, clean record, never started trouble. But as he stopped at a sign, a single unmarked car pulled beside him. The passenger leaned out with a camera, one of those long lens rigs normally used by investigative journalists, and took a rapid burst of photos right into Mason's face. Then the car sped off. No badge, no explanation. Just click, 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 and gone. Mason called Sonny immediately. You could hear tension in his voice, like a wire pulled too tight. "They're documenting us," he said. Not watching, documenting. Sonny told him to calm down, but he felt it too. This wasn't surveillance. This was evidence gathering for a story not written yet. The pressure only escalated from there. Landlords who had rented to members for years suddenly received courtesy calls from city officials reminding them of zoning complications. Bars and diners the Angels frequented were approached by inspectors who appeared out of nowhere asking for permits they had never asked for before. Tow companies received quiet encouragement to take their time when an Angel's bike was impounded. Insurance agents began dropping policies without explanation. And everywhere the Angels went, there were eyes, human or mechanical, watching for a mistake. Some members grew restless. A few grew reckless. Tension simmered so thick inside the Oakland clubhouse that even silence felt sharp. Younger riders paced, angry and impatient. "We can't just keep taking hits," one of them snapped. "They want a war? Let's give them one." But Sonny shut him down instantly. "They're waiting for that sentence," he said. "That's the trap." Sonny wasn't angry. He was alarmed. Because he understood a truth most of his brothers didn't. In California's eyes, they were no longer men, they were leverage. A tool to justify a much larger machine already humming in the dark. Then came the night the task force finally revealed itself, not fully, not openly, but just enough to let the angels know the rules had changed. It was after midnight in a desolate stretch of industrial Oakland. 3 riders headed home from a friend's garage noticed a set of headlights behind them. Then 2. Then 3 more. Within minutes, 8 vehicles formed a staggered formation around them, front, back, both sides like a moving cage. None of the officers spoke. None pulled out weapons. They simply matched speed, closing the formation tighter with each passing second. The riders slowed. The cars slowed. The riders sped up. The cars sped up. It was choreography, deliberate, controlled, terrifying. And then, as suddenly as it began, the cars peeled off in different directions, vanishing into the night as if they had never been there. When the riders reached the clubhouse, they were shaking, not from fear, but from clarity. "They're not stopping us," one said. "They're practicing." Sonny's jaw tightened. Because he understood. That wasn't intimidation. That was training. A dry run for something larger, something more tactical, something the task force wouldn't hesitate to execute once California found or created the reason. And the reason arrived sooner than anyone expected. It happened at 4 a.m., just before dawn, when Oakland is quietest. A sudden metallic clang echoed outside the clubhouse, a sound no one could place. A sound that didn't belong. Sonny stepped outside with 2 others. And there it was, a small metal device lying in the street. Not a bomb, not a tracker. Something more chilling in its simplicity. A police-grade spike strip, clean, untouched, placed directly in front of the clubhouse's exit. Not deployed. Not used, just left there. Like a message. Sonny stared at it for a long moment before picking it up. He didn't need to say a word. Everyone understood. California had stopped pretending. The task force wasn't circling anymore. It was positioning, preparing, and the angels, every man, every bike, every mile of asphalt they touched, were now living inside a battlefield drawn by someone else's hand. They say you can hear a war before you see it. This time, the angels didn't hear it. They felt it, deep, cold, unavoidable, because the first real strike hadn't been thrown yet, but the fuse had, and California was already counting down.